There we go. We haven't had one of those in a while. Hello, everyone. It's Rob with Jammin on the Run, and joining me this week is Laura.
Hello.
And Jackey.
Hi.
And Megan.
Hello.
And we are picking up our conversation where we left off with Marathon Weekend. So Megan, let's get back into it. So beyond the half marathon, you had a marathon still to run.
I did have a marathon run, yes.
Let's get to that. So you've done a couple of how many marathons have you done now?
This was my second.
This was your second,
Hopefully
okay.
my last ever.
She says this now. She says this now. So what was there anything different this year that you noticed over last year?
On the course per se?
On the course. So like say the course.
Even the vibe, like pre-race, was anything different?
Yeah.
What did you do different?
Well, you know what? I was lucky enough to score myself a race retreat thing. So so when it was freezing and, the wind chills were, ridiculous, I was able to be inside, and I wasn't there that long because I didn't get my sorry self up, quite that early. I didn't go to any of those characters. Don't fall over, Laura. I'm sorry. But I was so, I was really focused on just getting through it. I think I might have shared, I shared with all of you, but my training wasn't what it was last year. Last year I was religious to a T about following a training plan and getting the miles in. And this year, because of, my job change and the amount I'm traveling and everything that was going on, and the weather completely sucked. And like I said, I'm not a diehard. Things happened that I wasn't able to do. So at the end of the day, I was very excited to have some warm weather inside a tent. And so that was a new experience for me. I had never done that before. I hadn't done that for any other races. And then, they have bag check in there. They do have, bagels and things like that ahead of time. So I was out of the wind per se initially, but I always questioned myself, should I have worn as much clothes as I do? And by mile one, I was taking off a jacket that I thought I was going to wear the whole entire time. And because it was a very nice jacket, I was not throwing it away. So I think when I got to Transportation Ticket Center, I had gummy bears in the pocket. I took the gummy bears out and handed them to Anna. I was like, here, can you please, I had to run back to her. I was like, can you please take these? Because it was banging me in the leg because I had taken my jacket off. And then I kept it wrapped around me till about mile 14 when I could hand it off to somebody else. But we didn't really stop. Like we ran our intervals fairly regularly for the first, 13, 14 miles. We, took the standard castle picture. We took some pictures within Animal Kingdom. I really broke it down into milestone or landmark. So I said, we've got 5 landmarks to get through. Mentally, even though my training wasn't where it should have been, mentally I was committed. So I was completely mentally in the game. And so because of that, and that was one of the things I had said to Brooke, I said, I got this. I'm mentally in. So like, unless something catastrophic happened to me physically, we were finishing it.
So how cold was it?
A really good way to approach the marathon for people who haven't run one or you're nervous about it. Because I did this for my very first one. I did the goofy, and I didn't look at I took pictures by the mile markers, but my brain didn't register them. Like, I did the same thing. I had like landmarks. It was get to the Magic Kingdom, get through the Speedway, get through Animal Kingdom and ride Everest, and then Highway of Death, and then Wide World of Sports. And that was like in my head, I had check 1, check 2, check 3, and I just think it's less overwhelming mentally.
I would agree because there is a long, between Magic Kingdom and then you come and then you're all highway, right? So you're highway and then you have to go do that loop around because they have to get some extra mileage in before you can go to Animal Kingdom. And then you run, so the second landmark isn't until you get through Animal Kingdom. Now, I knew we would have somebody waiting for us there to, we could shed some things and, you'd see another person, but then we had to keep going. And it felt like forever till you got to Wide World of Sports. And I didn't look at see what mile markers were where. I was like, how many more do we have to go? Where are we with what? But I knew I knew Wide World of Sports. You know, it was fairly lengthy inside, but that was the third landmark. And they have flushing toilets, so you stop there. You know, we stop in the Magic Kingdom. We stop at Wide World of Sports. And then when we got out of there and we got into Hollywood Studios at mile 23. And so at that point, there was more relaxing, right? Because you had 3 miles left and we were in a decent spot and they had Oswald there, you know, so, and Oswald's never, you know, I never see Oswald in Walt Disney World. So we stopped for an Oswald picture and then we stopped for a few more. And then we knew we had a strategy. So we knew we were pretty darn close by that point. So once we got to Epcot, we stopped for many more pictures to just kind of get through it, but at the end of the day, I'm like, there were no lines.
Yeah, that's the thing.
There were no lines. We wouldn't have stopped really we didn't stop for many pictures in the beginning. I mean, they did have Vanellope and you know, Wreck-It Ralph. I mean, they did have some different ones. I didn't see as many necessarily as I think I might have seen last year. But like I said, you know, my recollection from one year to the next is, you know, I was like, oh, do you want to stop there? And like, no, we're just going to keep on going. Because we've both been struggling with some issues from a running standpoint. And in the beginning, I just needed to keep going. I think that impacts me more if I stop and do it more in the beginning than if I take the time at the end. Mm-hmm. But that's just my personal strategy.
So how different was Hollywood Studios? I mean, I know last year, before the half of the park was closed, we ran through quite a bit in the backlot area. So what do they do now?
We didn't run through any of that. You came in by Tower of Terror. You ran down by like the Phantasmic piece. You ran up, oh my gosh, Hollywood Boulevard. You ran, you know, and then you basically turned right there and ran out of the park. Mm-hmm. So you ran down the street. So you were in Hollywood Studios very little, and then ran to, you know, through the, you know, on the way from Hollywood to, you know, Epcot. And, you know, I was lucky enough that it wasn't excessively crowded there when I went through.
Yeah, really bottlenecked usually.
And I think that, and it usually does bottleneck there, but I did pretty well. And maybe it was because we hadn't stopped so much in the beginning. So I guess, I don't know. Don't ask me why, but we kept running for the most part and had strategies and put our intervals back in place. I mean, we did walk for, you know, a little bit of time, but that was just to wrap our heads around some things. And I did take Smarties, and those were very helpful. But, you know, I only like to take things that are in plastic baggies or have gloves.
Did you notice a difference? Because from what I read, and I could be wrong, they did something with the corrals this year. They spaced them different. Did I make that up? Is that true?
I think for the 5K and the 10K, they did waves.
Oh.
Now, some people, depending on where you were, said it worked quite well, and other people said it was more congested or some sort of, you know, it was more chaotic for them. Now, I didn't have that experience with the marathon itself.
Okay.
But I don't know. You know, if you look at the numbers, I think there was less in some corrals and more in others. But other than that, I'm sure there was a very specific algorithm for why they did what they did. But, you know, I think depending on H, and then we move back to I.
So you mentioned the weather. Quite the contrast in just a few days, right? Because you went from really warm temperatures in the 70s to potential just torrential downpours and then freezing cold temperatures, especially for Florida. So how cold was it?
I think it was, when we started, it was probably in the 30s, but with the wind chill, I would say it was probably closer to low 20s.
So it really was that cold.
It really was that cold. And it was, you know, honestly, if there wouldn't have been the wind, I would have been completely comfortable.
Yeah.
It was the wind that, you know, it's that bitter wind that just whips through, that just, you know, is obnoxious. I mean, I got on the monorail, I'll be honest, and there was, you know, people, I don't think, you know, people just didn't think about it. And there was a girl who had a blanket around her and she had a short sleeve shirt and shorts. Yeah. And I said to her, and her dad took off his sweatshirt and gave it to her. And he's like, no, she's like, no, you need to keep it. And I was like, do you want a trash bag? Because I have extra. Would you like a trash bag? So I gave, and it was a heavy duty contractor trash bag. It wasn't a windy one. So it was funny as she was walking off, when she was walking with her parents into, you know, through bag check, and she said, thank you so much. She goes, it's like a huge, huge difference. So, you know what I mean? And I think you saw a lot of that too. There was a lot of stuff posted even on Run Disney's site. You know, I'm going to Walmart. They have these shirts. Do you need sweatshirts? Last call. You know, I think people were asking, do you need emergency blankets? So, especially for people who weren't prepared and didn't have any way to really get long weather. You know, I had looked at the weather and brought something for every season, so I was covered.
And that's kind of how you have to pack this time of year, especially because like we just saw, the weather can change on a dime, and
it's
all those
amazing
people
compared to last year. Like we had tank tops, although it got cool after. But
I'll be honest, I preferred this year to last year because the humidity last year was rough. But I can run. It was harder to catch your breath though. Like I think because the air was so cold and it was so windy, there were times when you felt like you weren't moving at all because the wind was, you know, pretty bad.
Yeah.
So we're
fun times, right? Fun times.
Did you wear gloves the whole time?
No, actually, and I've got Raynaud, so my fingers go numb. But I did have hand warmers. So. And then I had this point when I got in my corral that I thought, oh my gosh, where are your hand warmers? But I had them in my skirt pocket. And so I used them pretty regularly throughout the entire race. There were times when my hands got hot and I took them off and just ran with them, you know, my hands, you know, the gloves on in my hands. But then as I would go through water stops, sometimes I'd put them back on because the water was so incredibly cold that, you know, I put the gloves back on. So it went back and forth. I know a lot of people ran with them the whole time. Other people didn't run with them at all. But because of my circulation issues, I need to run with them.
So how was it by the end of the race?
Initially, for me, it wasn't too bad. You know, I mean, I was in a tank top and a long sleeve shirt, and it was quite comfortable. And they did give out, you know, the warming blankets afterward, and I didn't need it initially, but you know, the more you sit or the more you wait, the more you need it. And that wind it wasn't as bad as it was in the morning, but it was still pretty chilly. So by the end, you know, as I get back on go on, I'm like, I said to people, I was like, I'm really sorry. Hope you can't smell me underneath this blanket because you know what I mean. People were going to parks and I was.
Arms down. You don't want the armpit smell.
I mean, I don't think my armpit smelled, but the rest of me probably did because it was, you know, you went through that hot and sweaty piece, but it wasn't sweaty, like sweaty, you know, because it was still cold.
Were there any transportation issues to or from the race weekend expo?
Not that, you know, I didn't have any, but I did see something that I don't know. That people, if you left too late from some places, roads were closed, and they told, you know, runners, you're gonna have to get on the bus here and take the monorail over. So I did see that some places. But I didn't have any. But I got up pretty early.
In my tips video, I was like, if you listen to anything, leave early. I mean, seriously, there's just been too many stories of that, and we've experienced that too. So
you wonder if people procrastinate a little more when it's this cold, though. I mean, that would have been tough for us to get there. What time do we usually get there? 2:30. That's a long time to wait.
The warming. Yeah, they did have the warming lamps.
Oh, they did.
You know, they had. I've seen those at Princess before. They do have the warming lamps. But you know, other than that, I mean, people were just kind of really huddled around. There weren't a lot of people out, you know, out in masses, I would say. People were really trying to stay warm and do whatever they needed to do. I guess more heat in numbers.
So no dance. Was there dancing beforehand?
Not that I know of. I'm sorry. I let you guys down. You know, I wasn't out there dancing.
Well, she was researching the
lines.
Wait. More importantly, did you miss us a little bit?
Just a tad. Well, you know, just a tad, because, you know, you were all like, I could read you. You were right there with me, you know, and lots of messages. You were very concerned. It's all good. It's all good.
So, Megan.
Yes.
We'll do it again next year.
At this point, probably not. I know you're all like, I mean, look at you guys. You're all crazy. I think I like
peer pressure.
Oh my gosh, please.
It's not that I don't love you. I just, you know, it's the training time it's really the training time. I never want to run a race where I'm not trained again. Yes, I did it. You know, to me, as I said, it was mental, but and I had a good enough base. You know, I ran enough miles, but not what I would have liked to do as consistently. And I've never had injury issues before, and that's my bigger thing. Is I won't sign up for something unless I know what it is. Is it a stretching issue? Is it a whatever?
Yeah.
I mean, not to, you know, I'm not,
Like
you know,
me.
I just.
Well, it's scary because you
yeah.
don't know what you're up against. You don't
Mhm.
want to like ruin half marathons for the future if that's what you really like. If you're not really loving the
I
marathon.
really like a
Why don't you do the
10K.
grumpy? Why don't you do
Yeah.
the grumpy challenge? The 5K,
The grumpy
10K, and the half. And then
I
you
don't
can
think that's
drink on
I
Saturday
think
night
that's
and make
the
fun of us on Sunday.
I think that's called the happy. It's not called the grumpy. It's called the
I
happy.
thought that was it the happy? I thought it was the grumpy.
No, somebody
Oh,
said
no.
the
Grumpy
grumpy
for
challenge.
Jackey.
is-
I made
What
it the
happened?
happy.
Okay, why don't
Did
you
you have to run a
okay,
marathon?
let me rephrase. Hey Megan, why don't you run the happy challenge then?
And then you can hand us Smarties.
Maybe we can
I'm
make
not
you a
committing
special
to
medal for-
anything. Not committing.
Well, you
Can't
didn't say
commit.
no, and we have this on
I
tape.
didn't say no,
I'd
but
like-
I haven't committed.
All
I'm
right,
not
I'll
committed.
take that for now. Well,
We have
Rob, are
some-
you going to ask her the most important question? You know I'm waiting for this, right? It's all about the bling,
Oh, the medal. Oh,
Oh.
showed us. That's right. I'm sorry. We took a break and we already looked at them. Yeah, so let's look at the medals.
You missed him.
I had to let the dogs out. Sorry.
Yeah.
Who let the dog?
So let's see what you got for medals.
All right.
So let's look at the half.
the one, the official one is the marathon medal.
I
Okay.
love that. I love that.
It's very classic looking. I like it.
It is
I like
beautiful.
the brushed
Here's the-
bronze
Yeah.
Mm,
or gold.
Oops, wait, that looks upside down. Hold on, I can't do it appropriately. Here, do it this way.
there you go.
right.
I like it.
It's beautiful.
I like
It's
the
pretty-
ears
it's
on there.
cool. Just for everybody's, edification here, this is the half marathon.
Very nice.
They gave them to everybody because what are you going to do with 50,000
Right.
medals?
Right.
You're going to hand them out.
That's nice.
They did, and I mentioned this when you weren't necessarily right there, is they gave us all commemorative luggage tags that were in the same shape of this.
Nice.
As I said, you and 50,000 other people got that same commemorative luggage tag. And then I do think this one's pretty cool. So, there's a story behind it. Technically, if you look at it, it's neat. It's much bigger than last year's, I
Yeah.
think.
It looks like a Reese cup.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. Especially when you look at it from the back.
Yeah, like the little like edging.
Mm-hmm.
All right,
like
I'll
it.
go with that. I'll go with that.
It's pretty.
It's huge.
It's
But
pretty.
kind of cool.
I like
Those
it.
are 3 medals.
Beautiful.
That's
Well,
all I
good
got.
Good job. I'm hoping your injury isn't, something long term. Maybe you just need a little rest or therapy.
I don't think it's long term, but I can't. I mean, you guys are crazy. I just need to say that you all are crazy.
Are you?
Well, we're
just, Are you
crazy.
just realizing this? I mean,
No,
I
I
think
knew it, but
tired. I think you're
it's
just
certified.
tired.
You're certifiable now, man.
We have
We're
to
crazy
we have to tell the
because-
story really quickly of how Megan and I met. We were at Princess Half. I think it was 2014, and I was in a line for
Yes.
a character, and you were sitting with your friends, and I texted you. I was like, "Well, get your butt up and come join me." And then you ran over and did the character picture with me, and after that, we were like, I think we made plans to do Dopey like right after that. It was like instant connection. So
Oh, so it must have been 2015, right?
It was
Yeah.
okay, 2015. Sorry, yes.
Yes.
So was that was a month after you and I had done Goofy?
Goofy, yeah. And we had our eye on Dopey.
Did we already know we were going to do Dopey?
Yes. And
We
we
did,
knew
okay.
we wanted to do Dopey 2018 right after finishing it in 2016, which is going to lead us into a very great topic.
Yeah. So we're sitting here a year from now because we're crazy.
It's going to be the fastest year
We-
ever.
We just
Like I
finished
said, you're all
this year's
crazy.
marathon, and we're already planning next year's because Run Disney's making us. So we talked last week, and Megan, you weren't here, about how I didn't think that Dopey was going to sell out this year. Jackie's been freaking out this whole time, thinking,
So
"Oh my God,
she's like
Dopey's
giving
gonna
you the
sell out."
palm or something there.
I
Sorry,
know.
I had to turn on my mouth.
But the whole thing was, why would it sell out? Dopey never sells out, right? Like Dopey's always available. The
Well,
full's always
2
available.
years when Dopey started, it sold out like that. Like
Well, yes, but if you look at the last few years, like we've been talking about, they're not selling out.
Right.
And especially this year, you could have registered for Dopey right up until the event. Like
That's
it never
true, but
filled
I-
up this year.
it's
But-
social media. It's the social media aspect. You go on
Well-
all these groups.
And you fall in hook, line, and sinker. Like Disney has some great marketing, right? Oh, we're gonna sell these things ahead of time. Now
Well,
you all
that's
like
what I'm getting to. So they come out with this new format of being able to pre-register by booking with a travel agent, and that's not something they did before. So they start creating the frenzy.
Well,
But even still,
before
kind of
that,
like, yeah,
remember though, we used to register for this in April.
right.
So the first change was, oh, we're going to do it in January, which we all thought was kind of annoying. But now realizing we're just coming off marathon weekend, everyone's got the itch. You all got the itch.
Exactly.
So
Kind of
that
my
was
point.
the first thing.
But,
Sorry.
but then compound that with what happened a few days later after we discussed this originally with the half being canceled, and all of these people with the ability now to defer to a race. Just throwing some numbers out there. So I got this courtesy of our friends at Team Shenanigans. Because I was actually researching this for something different to talk about.
Hi, Team Shenanigans.
If you're not listening to Team Shenanigans, you should, and follow them on Twitter and all that.
But don't leave us to follow them. I'm just saying.
Not right now. No, not right now. According to their numbers, and I always have to rely on other people to get these numbers because I'm never smart enough. There were, in the half marathon alone, there were 27,559 people. Of that, 16,698 were registered only for the half. So think about that. You've got nearly 17,000 people who now have the opportunity to defer into a new half marathon. Now, granted, not everybody's going to defer. Some people took tickets. Some people took the refunds. Some people even went into the full marathon, which I think is crazy if you think about it. Like,
I would not have taken that option. That is not an
I heard
option.
people do it, and they actually finished it.
I would have done it, just so you know. I would have done it.
That's good. Would not have.
So that kind of stuck out with me, and I was like, oh, holy crap. Even if like a fraction of those people defer to next year, that's filling up the half marathon awfully quick before it even starts. The other thing that I was kind of thinking of, too, was, okay, so we were already up against a couple of anniversaries next year. We had the Dopey and the 10K 5-year and the Fulls 25th year. And when this half was canceled, in my head I was thinking, well, I wonder if they would actually make next year a redo of the anniversary because they didn't actually run it this year. So do they actually count it? And we just got a little confirmation if you go to the Run Disney site, because the registration details are already there for next year, they're counting next year as an anniversary for the half. So that is now technically 4 anniversary races, even though they're not acknowledging the 10K, it looks like, because they don't list it.
They make no mention of it being an anniversary for the 10K.
Still, that's 3 big anniversary medals again.
Dopey.
So that Dopey, the Full, and
Yeah.
we reached out to one of our travel partners, good friend of ours, Ann Densk with Magical Adventures Travel. And yesterday we were kind of told that Dopey Bibs are already sold out with the pre-registration, so we were like, okay, we're starting to just have to suck it up and try to fight the crowd on registration day. But then today we heard rumblings that some more Dopey Bibs became available, so we reached out again and bombarded her with questions, and Ann being the thorough worker she is, she got right back to us and got us all the answers, and lo and behold, we are now registered for the Dopey for 2018. We got a room reservation at All Star Movies.
I can't believe Robert's going to be in an All-Stars.
I know. Trust me, I never thought I would.
Oh, God.
It goes against everything I believe in.
You just wait. You're gonna.
Not that they're not
Then you
fine
can do more
resorts
trips.
for people.
You want me to tell you, this is the biggest difference. You get a combination shampoo and conditioner, and the towels do not fit around my body, and they're thin. That is the difference.
But
difference.
it's only 2 nights, though, correct?
There's no hot tub if you're a hot tub person.
But it's only 2 nights, and then we can move to somewhere else because it was only a minimum 2-night stay and no park tickets required. We also got a $10 discount on our race fee, which
we did. Our Dopey
you made a very good point, considering $10 when the whole fee is like what, 500 and some.
I just love that we use the words discount and $550.
$10, yeah.
That'll pay for a pin.
Well,
that's like a free race pin. Like,
yeah.
Look at what we're gonna do with that $10.
So, but I definitely recommend to people utilize a travel agent, especially when dealing with Disney trips. They're very helpful, and certainly is a good
and social media. You find out a lot for anything. You hear some bad stuff. Don't get me wrong.
Well, that's how we heard. That's how we heard Dopey Bibs reopened again.
Yeah, if
social
we
media
didn't,
people posting it.
Well, this is a race that we really had on our radar. We definitely want to do this race, and now, like, I know to not have that stress on registration day, it's worth everything. We're in we can just sit back and relax or help our friends. So it's a good thing. It was a good day.
And
I was
if
so
it means I have to
excited.
stay at an All-Star, that's a price I'm willing to pay.
All Stars is perfectly
not
fine.
bad.
It's fine. You
might
will
like
be
it.
fine. I
It's
promise
so
you.
convenient. It's so convenient, and the buses are
It's
the
so
best.
close to the expo. I mean, we can take an Uber for like $6, so it'll be nice.
All right, so I think that'll do it for us this week. I want to give another shout out to Ann Densk again, give you her information, and I will post this in the show notes if you're looking for a travel agent. That's Magical Adventures Travel with Ann Densk. You can email her directly at Ann, that's ANNE, at magicaladventurestravel.com. And I'll also post a link to her website too, so you can check everything out. So for Megan, Jackie, and Laura, I want to thank you for listening this week, as always. Have a joyful day, and we'll see you next week.